Uh, Yeah, very good.
Okay, great. Well, thank you all for having me today.
Paul, I'm Denise Bolheimer, a close friend of Char's, and Coble is going to be introducing you a different person, so he hasn't joined us yet. And of course, about the first 3 to 5 minutes, people are dragging in from work, so we don't always.
Understood.
You've been there, done that, so.
Yep, I know how it goes. No problem.
Well, hopefully our at least short bio in our newsletter was accurate enough. It sounded like you were very, very busy.
There's a few things going on, but always glad when Miss Hoyle calls, I'm definitely coming running. And I apologize I wasn't able to make it to the last meeting, but we had a little bit of a conflict, but glad I could be here with you guys today.
Yeah, we got overranked. That's okay. It happens.
No,
so how's
it wasn't
the
it.
Huh?
Oh, they're great. They're great. I'm actually looking at them. So today, my son's is his last T-ball game. So I'm actually looking at him right now play the game from right here.
Well, that's important.
Double tasking. Yeah, yes. They're doing great though.
So now where is he in school now?
He goes to Richland Elementary. Wow. Yeah, he's a kindergartner.
That is amazing that time has passed like that. I remember when you were looking for daycare.
Yep. Yeah, it goes quick. And then my daughter, she's 10, so she's going to the 5th grade next year.
At White Station? Where is she?
No, she's actually at Hutchinson.
Oh yeah, that's right. Okay.
Yeah.
That's good. Okay. Well, you the man.
I don't know about that.
You know Coble already?
Do I know who?
Coble.
No.
He's one of those highfalutin attorneys downtown.
Well, we are at least, we're one of the last of the Mohicans of the lawyers who are downtown, me and Mr. Harvey.
That's right.
Oh, well, we thank you for being downtown. We want more of you down there.
We do too.
Well, Paul, that's part of your mission now, right?
That is amongst other things, but yeah, we definitely want to get the population back up downtown, which has been growing over the years, but we know that there's greater opportunities. So,
well, we fully opened our office this past week, and everybody's back, and we're in full activity again.
That's awesome. I'm glad to hear that. I've been hearing that story a lot more lately, whereas for a while we thought that people might not come back to the office. People are actually coming back now.
We call Attorney Harvey the president.
Okay.
Because he served in our armed forces, and he's done some great things for us. And in fact, the last couple of months, he was chair of a sock drive for Vietnam veterans. So we started off with, we wanted 100 pair of socks for 200 feet. He ended up with how many, Al? Like 700, how many pair of socks?
733 pairs.
Wow.
So that's like 1,400 feet.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's amazing. Well, thank you for your service. My dad is actually a Vietnam vet.
Al, have you heard anything about the little tea shop? Do you know if Sue is planning to reopen downtown?
I talk to her every once in a while, and her brother's at the peanut shop, and I talk to him on a regular basis, and I keep hoping that she's going to decide to reopen, and we're hoping it'll happen soon. But and I'm still waiting on the official word.
Yeah, I'm glad she at least has the peanut shop going.
Peanut shop is still open.
Good afternoon, everyone.
Hey,
Hello.
Shirley.
Hello.
Hi, Shirley. Hey, Cobble, it's 5:35. Want to get started? What you think, Denise?
Sure.
Yeah, if, Mr. Young, if you don't mind, people popping in here and there or whatever, that they'll keep adding on. So, Coble, let's go ahead and introduce our guest.
Yes, unfortunately, this is the first time I've gotten to meet Mr. Young, but I'm certainly glad that he's here with us. And I know only bits about his background. He's the director of the Memphis Housing and Community Development Agency, and is now the head of downtown, the DMC. What do we call that? His background, he has he made one veer off and got an electrical engineering degree in Knoxville, for goodness sakes. And but then came back to Memphis and got 2 master's degrees, one in public policy and one in business administration, which suits him really well for running the downtown Memphis Commission. So we're glad to have him tonight, and the floor is yours. Whatever floor you have under you.
All right, the virtual floor. Well, thank you so much, and I appreciate that introduction. Always great to be with you all, and I think I met a few of you before, but most of you I have not, so great to make your acquaintance. And I was just going to spend a little time telling you about some of the things we're doing at DMC, but it's always helpful to know who you're talking to, so I'm just going to tell you a little bit more about me, some things that are different from the bio. So I'm born and raised from Memphis. I did go to college in Knoxville, but I started off at East High School and graduated from there. Went to college in Knoxville, went for electrical engineering, and couldn't figure out what I wanted to do with my life after I graduated because I couldn't find a job. And I was staying with my parents over in Oak Haven. My parents are preachers here in Memphis, and so my mom was actually preaching a sermon. Their church is called the Healing Center, William and Diane Young, and she was preaching a sermon. And during that sermon, she was talking about the purpose-driven life. It was around that time when that book was really hot. And the thing that she said really helped to drive my career moving forward. She said that God's purpose for your life will never be for you. It'll always be for somebody else. And so for me, what I tried to do was figure out how I can apply that to my career and any jobs that I was going to go after from that point forth. And I was a little bit down because all my friends were moving to these fancy cities. They were going to LA and Vegas and Atlanta, New York, Nashville. And from that point, I said, all right, well, let me think about what I can do where I can give back to others, but also earn a good living and be fulfilled. And so I knew that I liked real estate, and I stumbled upon community development as I was looking. I figured I can't find a job, I may as well go back to school. So I started looking at programs at the University of Memphis, and I stumbled upon the term community development. I didn't quite know what it meant at that time, but I knew that it meant developing communities, and I knew I liked real estate, and I looked around my neighborhood in Oak Haven, and I saw how development was happening in other parts of the city, and I wanted to know why was it not happening in my community where I grew up. And so from there, it led to a series of, I enrolled in the program, City and Regional Planning at the University of Memphis, and the rest is history. And so in my most recent past job, I served as the Director of Housing and Community Development for about 5 years. I came in 2016 with Mayor Strickland, and we were able to do some amazing things, investing in various neighborhoods across the city and trying to find ways to get development in some areas where the market does not necessarily demand it. Otherwise, the development would have happened already. I took this job. I started April 1st. And I'm now the president of the Downtown Memphis Commission. And in this role, it's similar to housing and community development in that we're working to spearhead development and make things happen in our community. It's just hyper focused in the downtown geography. And I think it's a really fitting opportunity because downtown Memphis is really the heart of our region. It's not just the heart of the city of Memphis. The economic strength of our downtown really carries our whole region, whether that's South Haven, Mississippi, Olive Branch, Mississippi, or over in Arkansas. When you have that strong heartbeat in downtown Memphis, it really strengthens all areas of our community. And so I take great pride in having an opportunity to be able to influence what's going on in that part of our city, given its importance. So some of the things that we are working on in downtown Memphis, obviously I'm really new to the role. And so my goal is not to upset the apple cart. I want to make sure that we complete and finish the things that have already been on the radar, and then just add my flair and figure out where we can continue to find opportunities. And so some of the things that were already on the radar in downtown Memphis, the big projects that people know about, things like the walk. You heard about the $750 million project. It used to be called Union Road. Now it's the walk, where they've already done the demolition. They're looking at closing on that mixed use project this summer. And so we're really excited about seeing that project through. Other big projects, you've probably seen One Bill, where the Hyatt Centric has already been built, as well as the apartment units at 7 Vance. And now we're looking at the next hotel, which will be the Hyatt Caption, which will be immediately adjacent. And then the big hotel, the Hyatt Grand, 350 room hotel, will take place ideally later this year. But that's the word that we're getting from the Carlyles developing that property. There are other big projects like Lowe's. Those things are still coming, and they're doing their financial due diligence. When we talk about Downtown Memphis Commission, I tend to talk about those that are in the heart of downtown. Those are the bigger projects. However, our geography, we have about 5 different agencies that function under the Downtown Memphis Commission. So there's the DMC, which is, what I guess I'm kind of the president of all of them, but they're all sister agencies. There's the Downtown Memphis Commission. There's the Center City Revenue Finance Corporation, which is what many people know us as, because that agency issues the pilots. The territory for CCRFC is actually the parkways. So we do go into Midtown. So it stops at, I think, Airways, but includes the fairgrounds. We carved that piece in. And then it goes down Airways/East Parkway. It goes down to South Parkway. It follows that all the way back to the river and up to North Parkway. So you probably hear about other projects like Central Yards, which is one that was a pilot for that program. Project was approved right before I started, and that's the project that's at Cooper and Central, where they were looking to do a mixed use development there. I'm trying to think of other big Midtown projects. I'm sure you've driven by the Citizen on McLean and Union. That's a project that was approved through Center City Revenue Finance Corporation as well. We also have another sister agency called the Center City Development Corporation. One point of frustration for many developers is the high fees that we charge on our pilots. We charge 1% of the cost of the project. So if it's if it's a really large project, those fees can get really, really high. But what we do with those fees is we take that full fee. So if we get a $200,000 fee, there's obviously some legal fees that go along with it. But we take the balance of that and we put it into the Center City Development Corporation. So that entity provides grants and loans to small businesses looking to locate in downtown. So this is less for the developer and more for those businesses that may need an interior improvement grant or an exterior improvement grant or loan to bring their businesses to reality. And we really do a lot of work in that space, and that's kind of our bread and butter, and that's where we actually get to really work with those small businesses, which really are the heart of the work that we do, because they are the ones that bring the character and the amenities to our downtown area. The other agencies that fall under us, and I'm sorry, I'm talking a lot, I'll go relatively quickly. The other agencies that fall under us are the Downtown Mobility Authority. And so if you parked in a garage in downtown, it's highly probable that it was one of the garages that are managed by the Downtown Mobility Authority. And so those fees go towards sustaining those garages, the fees that you pay to park in those areas. And then the last one is the design review board. Whenever there's a new project in downtown Memphis or a new sign in downtown Memphis, it must be approved by the design review board. And so that entity operates under the Downtown Memphis Commission. Within DMC, back to the primary agency, we do a lot of activation. So you might have even heard about the watch party that the Grizzlies had a couple of weeks ago out in Fourth Bluff Park. We partnered with them. We have concert series, all types of things that we're doing to try to activate downtown and ensure that it's a downtown for everyone. That is something that was a mantra before I got there, and it's something that we will certainly continue during my time there. The other thing that I wanted to mention that is notable about DMC is that we manage Beale Street, which is it's a massive undertaking. So as many of you know, the city owns all of the land and the buildings on Beale Street, and they are leased out to the various tenants. We, the DMC, manage that through an arm. We call it the Beale Street Management entity, but they are part of Downtown Memphis Commission. So this past week, there was a lot of talk about the $5 fee that we reinstituted. So that was a decision that we made in order to maintain safety and keep the population lower during these, what we know will be high traffic weekends. So those are some of the things that we do. My philosophy, and I'll just kind of close here because I'd love to hear some of the questions, because that's usually when the conversation gets much more dynamic. But just some of the priorities that we have right now, I think I mentioned at the beginning, my goal is to try to finish some of the things that have already been on the slate. One of the things that I want to do beyond that is try to figure out how we can move the needle on minority spending. And a lot of times we talk about minority spending from the construction side. But one of the things I truly believe is that if we as a city that is 65% Black, if we are ever going to really move the needle and become a city that is not so poverty stricken, we have to find ways to get more minorities to play in this in a higher level economic space. And so what we've been doing is trying to encourage more minority involvement, not just on the construction spending side. Those numbers are challenging, but they're somewhat easier to hit, because what we really want to see is more minorities on the developer side. And I understand the economic structure of deals, and that, you know, in order to be in that space, then, you know, there has to be some financial there has to be some dollars put in on the front end. And so how do the minorities get into space if they don't have the money to actually put in to give them equity into the deal? And so we are pushing our developers that come to us that if you want the public incentives, help us find ways to do that. There are more creative ways to build equity into these projects. And so yes, sorry, I saw that question, which threw me up. So we know that there are ways to address this issue. I can't tell you what they are right now, but we know working together with the development community is something that we can overcome. And so that's one of the things that's really big on my list. The other thing that's really big on my list is trying to address public safety in downtown Memphis. Over the last couple of weeks, it's been a really big conversation with some of the high profile incidents with shootings and things of that nature that have taken place. And so every day since I've come into this role, we've been working and talking about how we can strengthen not just police presence, because we know that that's one thing and they are really stretched thin, but what are the other things that we can do as stakeholders and agencies? Are there design things that we can do on the streets? Are there ways that we can turn the scooters off, which sometimes contributes to some of the what feels like chaos in downtown Memphis at certain times? Can we turn the scooters off at certain times? Can we enforce the noise ordinances? Can we do things that make it unappealing for folks to who have bad intentions to come downtown? So those are the types of things that we're looking to address in the relatively short term. So with that said, I'm going to stop talking and entertain some questions. I'm doing this from my phone, so I can't really see all of the questions as well as I would like to. So if somebody could just throw out the questions for me, that would be great.
Oh, the first one is from Denise, and it says, mobility in downtown is a concern for many. How will mobility to the convention center on the north be improved when so many new hotels and other activities are occurring on the south side of downtown?
Yeah, that's a really good question. So there's a couple of ways to answer that. Obviously, the trolley is one of the primary ways, and we want to. We're talking to Matt about how that experience can be improved with updated streetcars. We want to keep the historic look, but we want to make it much more functional, and not just something that is cute, but something that is really functional for moving people. And that's something that Matt has agreed to. Obviously, it takes some investment, but that's something that's high on our list. The other thing that I would say, and this feeds into one of the questions that I saw around anti-neglect, there are a lot of buildings that are vacant in downtown Memphis. Well, I won't say, well, yeah, there are far too many that are vacant. And when you start talking about mobility and how you get to and from, what really makes the walk feel long and dangerous is when you're walking past blocks of vacant storefronts. If those buildings were activated, that walk would feel much, much smaller. And so we're doing things to try to get those spaces activated. And then the work that we do around development incentives also contributes to that. Lastly, I'll just say, some of the other mobility alternatives. I talked about the scooters, and some people will use them. I know they're not for everybody, but the scooters, the bikes, all of those things are a part of building out a transportation network, so that we're not just looking at roads and streets and being for cars. We're thinking about how we can move people with various forms of transportation. That's not just something we're looking at downtown, but really all over the city.
All right, the next one's from Rick Baker. Could you please let us know how the Downtown Memphis Anti-Neglect Initiative is progressing in enforcing building and sidewalk codes? What are your specific goals and how do you stand on achieving them? Also, are you working with Jared Price's Fight the Blight campaign?
Well, to that one, I will say, I'm 8 weeks in, so I might have to come back and give you more specifics because I hadn't been briefed on that one yet. However, I do know some of the general context just from my previous work and things that I've observed. Downtown Memphis Commission is working with Steve Barlow from Neighborhood Preservation Inc. and Danny Shafson from the University of Memphis to identify those properties that are in violation of the anti-neglect law, and we are filing cases on those properties daily so that we can move them towards getting out of the hands of the bad owners and into the hands of someone that's actually going to do right by the property. And so that's an ongoing process. I couldn't give you the numbers with regards to how many cases have been filed to date and how many are underway, but I do know that they are doing that work. Particularly around the sidewalks, I don't know much about that yet. I apologize, but I just hadn't gotten that level of depth on it yet. Jared Price is someone that I've interacted with quite a bit. In fact, that's the meeting that I had last week that conflicted with my presentation here. And so we do a lot with that group and have had a lot of conversations with them. I did not know about the Fight the Blight initiative that he had, but I think you can suffice it to say that DMC is involved. And my guess is that his group identifies properties, and then those properties are turned over to or listed and given to DMC staff, and those are some of the properties for which the legal team are working to take action.
All right, the next one's from Denise. Tom Lee Park is a public taxpayer supported park for everyone's use. What will be done to give people accessibility without walking multiple blocks down hills to reach the park without the high cost of parking garages?
Yes, that's a tough one. I mean, parking obviously is paramount, and one of the things, a project that's already underway. I don't know if you've heard about Cut Bank Bluff, but that's where they basically are cutting an accessible walkway down the bluff so that you can get down there, so you can park up higher on the bluff. And whether you're in a wheelchair or have accessibility issues, you can still get down the ramp without having to walk down major sets of steps. So that should ease the process to get people down. There will continue to be some parking down there, but obviously we know that given the attraction that's going to be, it's probably not going to be enough. But that is something that the Memphis River Parks Partnership, as well as our team, have talked about and will continue to work on.
President Charlotte's got a question. Brief perspective on your Liberty Park project.
Yes, really, really excited about Liberty Park. So in my previous role as the Director of Housing and Community Development, we coordinated that project. And for those that aren't aware, it is the former the fairground site, which we are rebranding as Liberty Park as an ode to the history of the site. And so with Liberty Park, there's two major components. If you recall where Liberty Land was, it's the grassy field that's in the southwest corner of the site, near Southern and Young and Airways, or East Parkway, sorry. So there, we are going to be building a youth sports facility. It will have 8 basketball courts on one side, and then on the other side, it will be a large space with bleacher seating. I think it's up to 2,500 seating. That space is basically a concrete slab, but on that slab you can place additional courts. You can do turf fields inside of there. You could do an indoor track. So it's built so that it can accommodate various sports and competitions. And there are the project has come a long way. It's slated to close on the bonds later this summer. And hold on just a second. My daughter's coming over here. I apologize. Hold on. Sorry about that.
That's a good thing, Paul. That's a good thing. Take time out for your daughter.
Oh yeah, most definitely.
That's so human. Yes.
Yeah, they're gonna take their time. That's the beauty of this Zoom. They just humanized all of us. So the closing will take place, and you'll see the youth sports facility get built starting this summer. And then the other component to the Liberty Park project is the private development, where there will be a hotel, at least 120 rooms of a hotel there. I think it'll end up being around 150 actually, as well as some restaurants, apartments, and then we have reached a deal with a group called High Five. So if you remember Jillian's or Main Event, that type of space where you have bowling and different activities right on the fairground site. So it'll be a great complement to the youth sports facility, and it also will activate the fairgrounds site during football games. So we're really excited about that moving forward in the project. The first phase, which is the youth sports facility, that should be completed by October or so of 2022.
Charlotte keeps adding to her question with the Raleigh project and the Orange Mound project.
Okay. Yeah, I can talk about both of those. So remember, these are my former projects, but they were my baby, so I can talk about them all day. But they may have changed in the last 8 weeks, but I doubt it. So on the Raleigh project, that one is where we took what was an outdated mall, the Raleigh Springs Mall. The city acquired the property, and in its place, we built a nice lake, a skate park, a library, and a police precinct, and we left 20 acres for private development. So the private development, we're actually going to put out a bid for developers to come in and build on that site. That bid should go out this summer, somewhere around June 15th. So in a couple of weeks, actually. We'll put it out there because the ultimate goal is to get that site developed and make it a premier anchor in the Raleigh community. For Orange Mound project, I'm really excited about. When we started working on Liberty Park, we had some meetings with residents and stakeholders from the Orange Mound community to see how can we ensure that this Liberty Park project is a win for the areas adjacent. And one of the things that came out of the conversation with folks from Orange Mound was that having a connection to historic Melrose, which is the school building that was in that community. It was Melrose High School for many years, and then it went out of service in 1979. And the building has sat vacant since that time. So a building that had been there for 40 years, the community wanted to figure out how it could be reactivated. It wasn't a conversation that was new. It was something that had been discussed for many years. And so as a part of the Liberty Park project, HCD took it on and we started putting out bids. And it has culminated into having $10 million dedicated from the city of Memphis to put a library in the bottom floor, which would include a state-of-the-art genealogy center that would focus on African-American genealogy. And the goal is to make it a space that would be nationally renowned for all of the research and its connection to this historic Black neighborhood in the heart of the city of Memphis. And so, what we wanted to do was try to find a way to make it nationally significant. And I think that is taking place. And on the two upper floors would be senior housing units, about 24 senior housing units. And so it would be a mixed use structure right in the heart of Orange Mound, and really something that was a source of blight and concern will become a source of hope for that neighborhood and that community, and really excited about that.
The next one is, tell us more about the Pinch District and what's going on up there.
Yeah, the Pinch District. So it's been slow. I will admit it's been slower than we would like for it to be. St. Jude has started on their patient housing, which is actually in the Pinch, and it's not necessarily in behind the gate. So we're really excited about seeing them come outside the gate and have some development that will be more visible to the community. I think that'll be powerful for that community. What's happened in the Pinch is there's a gentleman, Mr. Tom Entertor, and he acquired some significant sites. So if you know those parking lots across on Front Street that are across from the pyramid, he's acquired those and a number of other properties. And he has some very ambitious plans for high-rise towers. We have been having discussions about the market viability of that, particularly given what's been going on recently. He's still very optimistic on it, but I do know that he is starting with some of the other properties that he's acquired in the south end, so on the South Main side. So I don't think he will get started on the projects that he owns in the short term, meaning the next 1 to 2 years. But ideally, in the next 3 to 5 years, we will have movement on those specific parcels. In the meantime, there is significant interest, and there are people that are opening. I know Comeback Coffee, I think that's the name of it, that just opened up recently up there. And Westies is now seeing more business. Bass Pro is now seeing more business on the backside of this pandemic. So we are optimistic that things are looking up, especially with the convention center now being open after a year and a half, maybe 2 years of renovations.
That feeds into Carl Awesome's question. How's the restaurant scene coming back downtown?
It's been tough. It's been tough. I think all the service industry in general. So restaurants, hotels, even DMC, we're having a hard time hiring security. But it's been challenging for people to find staff. I think there's on the backside of the pandemic, there's been so many resources that have been distributed. I think people are having a hard time finding employees or people that want to go back to the same kinds of jobs that may not have paid as much as they would like to be paid, as those people would like to be paid. And so they're having a hard time. I was just on Bill yesterday for the game, and I was talking to some of the, particularly one of the owners down there, and she was telling me that, you know, she has the capacity. She has a lot of capacity. In order to maximize her capacity, she would need 40 employees, and she has 4. And her story is not uncommon from what I've been hearing from downtown restaurant owners. So it's been a challenge. So we're thinking that, you know, as the summer goes on, we'll start to see them begin to ramp back up. But that's been one of the biggest challenges.
Yolander's got a question. Will there be small business grants or forgivable loans to the small downtown restaurants?
Yeah, so there's actually, from the federal government, there's a whole, I can't remember the name of the program, the acronym, but there's a program that is dedicated to restaurant owners and providing those restaurant owners with direct relief for what they've been dealing with. So it's definitely something that is available.
We all read recently about 100 North Main, and they're putting out a request for proposal, but we have another major downtown building. The Steric building has been boarded up for 35 years.
Mm-hmm.
Who owns that building, and why does it just continue to sit there?
Yeah, so I actually got briefed on that the other day, and I can't remember the name of the family, but there is a family that owns it.
The Grosvenors? Do the
that's-
Grosvenors still own it?
That sounds like it might be it, but don't quote me on it, because I heard the name, but you know, to me the name was not as important as figuring out what they were doing. So I don't quite recall it. But what I heard was happening is, you know, that they had offers and things that were placed on it, but they just wanted too much money. And so now we're looking at legal alternatives to try to get the building into hands of people that will be responsible for it. And you know, we're going the legal route. I just saw a flash about eminent domain. Obviously, that's always an option, and I think some people get concerned about eminent domain, and I used to get concerned as well. Just, you know, is it overreach of government for using that tool? But I think in this instance, it is something that should be considered. I don't know the status of the legal issues. I'll have to check back in with the group to get the specifics as to where they are. But if these legal alternatives that are being explored are exhausted and we can't find any other option, I do think that it is something that we would be willing to explore, because it really is important. It's something that is definitely on our radar and that we've been discussing. We don't have an immediate solution in hand, but it is something that we will follow up on in the coming months.
All right, next question. Is it feasible to have high school students as Blue Suede ambassadors, at least during summers?
I would love to do it, and I hadn't heard that idea before, but I think we should circle back on that after this call, and I can get with our team and see what it would take to actually make that happen, because I think that would, you know, I love finding those kinds of programs where you can have double benefits, where the kids are getting something to do, they're getting a little bit of money, but they're also learning about their city and the importance of their city. And they can probably help us with some of our challenges too, because some of our biggest challenges on the weekends are the young people, the underage folks that are downtown doing a lot of the negative activity. And so if we can find ways to engage them positively, that would be a win-win in my opinion.
I
right,
volunteer
what
to
is-
help with recruitment.
Well, that's why Charlotte's our president. Okay, what's the proper use of eminent domain to prepare sites for redevelopment? The Steric building.
So with eminent domain, one of the things that I always got confused is I just assumed that, you know, government is just taking this person's property. But the issue is that, not the issue, but what really happens is when you end up in court, the only thing you're going to court for is the price. It's not necessarily about whether the government can actually get the property or not. And so in terms of what's proper, I think as long as it's a justified for an economic development purpose or for the purpose of community good, sometimes you can use it and define it as slum and blight. That's what I would use for the Steric building. It's been blighted for so long and for so many years that there's a very little likelihood that the building would be redeveloped in its current state or with the current ownership. And so government needs to intervene for the good of the community. And I think that's, as long as you can pass that test when you're looking at, and I'm not a lawyer, so you're getting the non-legal response, but as long as you can pass that test, then I think you're on sound footing when it comes to eminent domain.
All right, Dr. Key has a question. What are the details of the Vance Avenue expansion, and to what extent or what parts of Vance are included?
Yeah, so the Vance Avenue inspection, so it's a part of something that Memphis River Parks Partnerships has led, but I do know about it because I had talked to them about it in my former role. So you all probably are familiar with some of the work that's been happening with the former Foot Home site, South City, and that redevelopment to take the former 420 units of public housing and transition it into 715 units of 720 units of mixed income housing. Beautiful units have gone up. They're starting to go up on the west side of Danny Thomas. The east side had already been done. And so it's going to start at 4th Street, which is essentially the edge of the South City Foot Park at South City development site. So it'll start at 4th Street and go all the way down to the river. And the goal is to ensure that there is a seamless connection. So they'll do things like, you know, beautification, streetscapes, adding some greenery, you know, just making it a very comfortable walk and connection to the riverfront, to that community. And obviously it'll impact anything along that corridor by making that walk much more cohesive.
All right, Yolander's question, is there a group to protect the historic preservation of the building / architecture, etc.? Does government intervention include tearing it down or preservation?
Government intervention could be either or, but there are groups that are focused on it. Our design review board is one way that we do it in downtown Memphis, at least, because any new development has to be approved. However, we're not the ones that, so if a developer buys a property and they decide to tear it down, there's very little that we can do at that point in time. If government acquires it, obviously we can take more comprehensive feedback and input and take that into consideration when it comes to whether we tear it down. The challenge, though, is that when you have these buildings and 100 North Main, which I think you asked me and I forgot to respond to, but when you have projects like 100 North Main, what we want to do is put forth a best faith effort to get a developer that's going to maintain the building, but it always comes down to economics. And preservation is more expensive. There's not a real way around that, but you can't always recreate what was there. I climbed to the top of the 100 North Main building, and when I saw the views, I mean, it was unbelievable. And I couldn't imagine that we would get something in its place that would have the same towering views and, you know, what it means to the Memphis skyline. And so we can certainly push for it, but we also try to stay open and flexible depending on what the financial situation is.
Okay, next question. How's the trolley renewal coming along. Will it soon be going east on Madison, not just north and south in downtown?
I've heard that it will, but I don't know the timeline for it. That's something that MATA is responsible for, but I do know that that is something that they're looking to do for sure. But I couldn't give you a timeline as to when.
Okay, anybody else got any questions? Miss Pan? You got to unmute. There you go.
What, first of all, is Dorcas your sister?
Yes, she is my sister.
She and I served on a board together. That's why.
Yes, everybody knows Dorcas.
Yes, everybody. And your
Everybody knows Pan.
and your mom and your dad too through Leadership Memphis. But the question was, this is kind of nutty, but while the trolley has, if the trolley in its previous iteration had a schedule, but it wasn't enough to really move people. Can it be combined with some other form of maybe not even as big, like, this is crazy, golf carts or something that are where people could just be positioned and I got to go from here to there and at a time?
Yeah.
You know, kind of like those things you do at the airport, like somebody comes up and you get a ride.
Yeah, I'm glad you said that because we do have a new on-demand service that we just launched in March called Groove On Demand, which circulates downtown, and you can go on the app and say, I need to, almost like Uber, and say, I need to get from the Central Station Hotel up to the convention center, and somebody will come pick you up. And they just do that. It's just like the shared ride on Uber. They would just pick up a couple of people and go make these circular routes within the downtown area. And so that's one thing that's been done. It's still in a pilot test phase, and there are some kinks, but that's one thing that we're doing. The other thing I would say that complements it is the bus rapid transit system that is proposed, and they've already been awarded funds. And that's where they basically outfit these buses with technology so that the buses come and they can actually push a button and they can change the lights. They have a dedicated lane. And the route that it would take is that it will go down Union, all the way down Union, go down to Highland, turn right. Actually, it might go to Goodlet, Go to Goodlet, turn right on Goodlet, turn right on Central again, turn right on Highland, and then turn left on Poplar, come back all the way. I mentioned when going down Union, they do their dog leg and get off on Poplar to get to Goodlet. Come back up Union, then they go down till you get to Third. Then you turn right up Third and go to A.W. Willis, left on A.W. Willis, left on Second, come back down south to Union, and then make that whole loop again. And that'll be the new bus rapid transit. They'll have new bus stations. So the stations will have like wireless connectivity, plug-in chargers, digital. It'll look really cool and modern for each of the stations. And that's how we are trying to transition our transit from being this thing where, you know, it's considered the thing that people in poverty use, and it's not really cool to use. We want to change that narrative by refreshing the look of transportation and having it move in a much more efficient way. We believe that that'll be the start with this BRT line.
And hopefully there'd be something that'd pick up the south side too. Because I'm here north and I'm here in that good old east route again. We need that transportation in the south.
Yeah, we definitely need we need a strong north-south route. The projected route for that is to go, I think it's Watkins, and then somehow it gets over to Elvis Presley and goes all the way down south into Whitehaven.
Who else has a question? Anybody? Well, President Char.
Okay, Paul, I guess you can see that you have a strong support group here. I like to say that Midtown Memphis Rotary Group is the cool group. If you've noticed, unlike a lot of other groups, particular Rotary groups that you attend, this is a very diverse group.
Yeah, I
But
like it.
more than diverse, we're cool. And
Yes.
see, Midtown actually is part of downtown. So once we get started again, we meet at the Southern College of Optometry, which is also in your purview. We'd love you to come back because we have, you can tell we have a lot of questions and we're really into this. We
I
call
love it.
ourselves
I
the
love it.
nerd bunch.
I love it. I mean, I love the ideas and things that we've talked about, and anything that I can do, anytime you call, I'll be glad to come over. If you just got random questions and you see something in the news that makes you mad and you want to know how and why is the city doing it, even if it doesn't directly involve me, I usually can at least explain what's happening.
Thank you. And you're quite a dynamic dude. And I'm glad that you decided not to be a boring engineer. Your personality would not fit that.
I
And I think
appreciate
that,
that.
yeah, and as a Memphian, we're grateful that you decided, not to live in New York or go to LA or somewhere, but to come back and bring your talents here. Because that is sometimes a problem with us in Memphis, that we lose a lot of talents, and we appreciate you hanging with us.
I definitely appreciate that, and I can attest that we have some very talented people living. We have talented people that are here, but we have a lot of people abroad as well. And so my goal is always to get as many of them back. And that's another benefit to that idea around having those teenage ambassadors that can help us,
Right, yeah.
because then we're starting to build up that pipeline of people that see the value of coming back to their city.
And
Well,
know how to
this-
spell it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
know
we're a
how to
service
sell it.
group. Yeah, we're a service group, so we're always interested in serving. That's
Okay,
our thing. So just give it to us and we can handle
I will do. I'll definitely come up with some stuff.
it. Okay. Anything else for tonight? Paul, thank you again. We really appreciate you. So are you a member of a Rotary group?
I am not. I don't think. I think one of them they always had a DMC person on there, and so they've been telling me about participating. I hadn't done it yet.
Okay, don't make any commitments until we
Okay.
get back with
So
you.
you look some more at Midtown.
Yeah,
We're a lot more fun.
yeah, a lot
Yeah.
more fun and and
We're
we
nimble.
are yeah, and we're
We're
already
nimble.
in your corner.
Yes, I definitely appreciate that. Well, I won't make any commitments, and I look forward to hearing from you on that.
Thank you,
Paul,
Paul.
they did say we're not your grandfathers.
Right, we're not your grandpa, and we meet at happy hour time, not at lunch.
Yes, I like it.
We serve wine.
Yeah, that's already a good selling point right there.
Thank you, Paul.
All right. Well, you all have a great day, and I will talk to you all soon.
Okay, I'll be in touch.
Thank you.
Thank
Should all
you.
clap. Yes, that was great.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Yay.
That was great.
Uh,
Love to the family.
Will do.
Yes.
Thank y'all.
President Char, you have any updates for us?
Two updates. Next, on the 8th, Beverly Robinson, what is she? What's her title? Chamber of Commerce, what?
Yeah, she's like president and CEO of the Greater Memphis Chamber.
Okay, so she'll be on the 8th, and on the 22nd, we had scheduled, this is funny, but you can tell jokes with his family. On the 22nd, we had scheduled Gustav.
For some
And that
reason,
was before, a lot of other things happened. After some things happened, Harry started stalking me about uninvite him. Uninvite him. We don't even want to hear what he has to say. And everybody knows how Harry is. So, I kind of worked out a strategy. So on the 22nd, we'll have Councilman Worth Morgan, and we sort of put Gustav in the layaway, like maybe later, but right now, I don't think that Harry would have approved. And, we kind of have to follow Harry's orders or suffer the consequences.
Anyway, so we have Worth Morgan,
On the 22nd.
who also is from the conservative
Right.
bent on the east side of the city. So this will be a variety versus, say, Beverly at the chamber.
Right,
So
exactly.
he used to be the head of the Civil Rights Museum. So
Mhm.
I think both programs should be pretty interesting for all of us.
Oh,
Thank
yeah.
you for arranging it.
Yeah, and also again, we really want to thank Al and Mike and Ben and Dr. Kendall for that just enormous support with the socks. For that started off with, I know when I talked to Deb, she said, "Oh, we usually get about 100 socks, 100 pair of socks. Can you help us?" And we went from 100 pairs because I started thinking, okay, 100 pairs is 200 feet. We went from 100 pairs as our goal to how many, Al? Some other people have joined us.
733, isn't it? Al, you're muted. Let's see if we can get him.
I'm sorry, 733.
I mean, that is amazing in the short time that we did it, because it wasn't like a project that had a long duration. And we have several support from other Rotary clubs, and they're also suggesting that it become a yearly project because they like to participate in. I think Dan for a while was rolling around with socks in his trunk from other Rotary groups. And so we'll have more time if we decide to do that. We'll have more time to get even that. Okay, I like to think in terms of feet because that sounds like a bigger number. Okay, so we're at 1,400 plus feet. And so if we got more, we maybe could even get to 2,000 plus feet. So let's think about, is that something we might want to do at a later point? Josh, so good to see you.
Good
We
to see
miss you. Yeah. Yolanda, Shirley, of course, Pan and Carl. Al, thank you again. Cobra, thank you for coming out of downtown, and now you got a foothold on what's going on down there.
Are you muted?
It was a great program.
Yeah, and it really put us ahead of the wave in terms of what's going on in the city. So we'll have him back when it's a good time.
Yeah.
Shirley, hi. Yeah, I was just saying hi to Shirley and Jennifer and Ellen. And yeah, there are lots of, yeah, good.
Jennifer's always in the office working. And Elaine.
Oh, she's unmuted.
Hello,
herself.
everyone. I spoke when I first got on. Everybody wasn't here.
Always busy. And I think Ingrid, but she might be gone now.
Yeah,
Elaine?
we've got
Hey,
some
yeah.
German Rotarians as a guest in the city, and Ingrid is helping out with them. They're two, so she called and asked where they should go or what they should see. So she is a tour guide of right now in downtown Memphis and into Midtown tentatively. So
Right.
maybe we'll get a report from her tomorrow.
Yeah.
Steve Smart worked with us to arrange that.
Yeah, and she got a little preview tonight on some things to mention during her tour guide.
Yeah.
stint. So,
Hey.
Denise,
Uh-huh.
anything else?
No, anybody else? Ellen, do you have any announcement about volunteers on committee and stuff?
No, I don't, but I was wondering, any of you attending the virtual convention this year in June? The Rotary International Convention is going to be a virtual convention next year between 12th and the 16th of June. I just wonder if anyone will be attending. I registered
will.
myself. I've never attended, but I'll try to attend a couple of sessions, I guess.
I attended last year. It was exciting. So I'm going to try and attend this year.
Okay, it's $65, so I
Yes.
didn't know there was a cost, but and I'm a bit late to register, but okay, I'm sure it's worth it.
And I went last year. I attended
Okay.
last year. Yeah,
Okay.
it's well worth it.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, great people,
All
great
right.
family,
If we're
great meeting.
finished, I'll end the meeting. Are we ready to end the meeting?
Yeah, let's go.
All right.
Thank you, everyone. Appreciate everything.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Here.
Bye.
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 Good to see everybody.